Hi, everyone. I am April Blackford, and I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And today we are diving into a gut issue that most doctors don't test for, but that I see in so many of my clients. So you're eating clean, avoiding dairy, maybe even gluten, yet you're still bloated after meals, you're gassy, you're tired, and your digestion just feels off. So you may have been told that you have IBS, but what if the real issue is SIBO? Now, SIBO is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. So let's break this down in a way that makes sense because if you've been chasing bloat and fatigue for years, then this could be the root cause. Now, first, what is SIBO? SIBO stands for, like I said, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. That means bacteria, good, bad, or neutral, are growing in the wrong part of your gut. Your small intestine is where you absorb nutrients from food. It's not supposed to house a lot of bacteria. Those belong in your colon. But when those little bugs migrate up into the small intestine or don't get cleared out, then it can in turn cause a lot of major issues. So think of it like this. You're trying to cook dinner, but your neighbors have crashed into your kitchen, taken over your stove, and are burning your food. That's SIBO. Your food's getting fermented before you can even properly absorb it. So the result, gas, bloating, nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, and food fear, because now even healthy meals make you feel awful. Now, let's talk about there are different types of SIBO. So let's talk about the different types. So SIBO isn't a one size fits all. There are actually three different types and they act very differently. So first you have the probably I would say the most common, which is hydrogen dominant SIBO. So this is caused by hydrogen producing bacteria that ferments carbs very quickly. Some of the symptoms of this would be loose stools, bloating shortly after eating, abdominal cramping, urgency to go to the bathroom, gurgling stomach. And this is where I often hear clients say, I can't figure out what to eat without bloating. Meaning like everything I eat causes me bloat. And then you have the second one, which is methane dominant SIBO, which is also known as intestinal methane overgrowth. This is caused by an archaea, not technically bacteria, that feed off of hydrogen and produce methane gas. Now, some of the symptoms of this are constipation, bloating that lasts for hours, weight gain, slow digestion. And some of the common phrases I hear with this one is, I go days without a bowel movement, or I'm gaining weight, eating less than ever. And that is usually kind of a text, but kind of gives me a clue that it might be methane-based SIBO. And then you have hydrogen sulfide SIBO. And this is caused by bacteria that produce hydrogen sulfide gas, which usually will smell like rotten eggs. And some of the symptoms are sulfur smelling gas, call it sulfur farts, just horrible smelling farts, diarrhea, nausea, fatigue, joint pain, brain fog, and sometimes chemical sensitivity. So you have like perfumes, chemical smells that's very, very sensitive. So this is often missed on traditional tests, and symptoms kind of feel a little bit more systemic. So each type needs a different approach. So if you've done a SIBO protocol that didn't work, it may have actually been the wrong one for your type. Now, let's talk about some of the common SIBO symptoms. SIBO doesn't just affect your gut, it can affect your whole body. And some of the common symptoms are bloating. I mean, that's the obvious, especially worse as the day goes on or after meals. I used to joke that I could wake up in the morning with abs, and as soon as I ate my first bite of food, the bloating started. It started and it never went away throughout the day. Um, and that's like I can totally relate to the bloat. It's just it's unnerving, it's annoying, it's uncomfortable, and it's just a pain in the butt. And then you have gas, so like belching, flatulence, or just overall discomfort, like you just got some trapped air, inside. And then constipation or diarrhea, or kind of bouncing between the two. And then fatigue after meals. So feeling like you need a nap after eating. So if you feel like you're just eating a meal is just exhausting, then that is another symptom and an indicator it might be SIBO. Um, and brain fog. So if you're experiencing poor memory, trouble focusing, or mood issues like anxiety, irritability, depression. Just a little fun fact is your gut makes neurotransmitters, so there is a connection there. Um, or food intolerances. So even healthy foods that you eat, say you're eating an anti-inflammatory diet and all of a sudden healthy foods are triggering bloating. That is a sign. And then skin issues like rosacea, breakouts, just redness on the skin. That is another symptom. Or nutrient deficiencies, especially B12, iron, or magnesium. Those all can kind of point back to SIBO. And then lastly, unexplained weight changes. So, especially like weight gain with constipation. So, if you tend to kind of struggle more with constipation or slow motility, and you're experiencing weight gain, or you experience the opposite. Say you have chronic diarrhea and you just can't keep weight on. That is also another symptom. So if you're not alone to several of these, then it might be your sign to dig deeper. Now, what are some of the common root causes of SIBO? So SIBO doesn't just come out of nowhere. Here are some of the most common root causes that I see in my practice. Number one is slowed motility. So slowed motility is absolutely number one. It's very problematic. And anytime I ever work with someone that is prone to slow motility, there's almost always an array of gut issues. So your small intestine has a housekeeper wave called the migrating motor complex. So if that's impaired, bacteria stay put and multiply. And then stress, poor sleep, and restricted diets can all contribute and slow this wave. And then the second thing that I see very, very commonly is low stomach acid. Stomach acid kills bacteria before they reach the small intestine. So PPIs, so like protein pump inhibitors, antacids, chronic stress, or age-related decline reduce acid and then in turn can open the door for overgrowth. And then the third thing would be past food poisoning or a stomach bug. This is one a lot of people don't realize. So, one bout of food poisoning can damage the nerves that regulate the gut's wave like movement and in turn cause problems. So, the fourth thing would be adhesions or scar tissue. So let's say you've had a C-section or abdominal surgery or endometriosis, which can physically block movement in the gut. So kind of pay attention for, any past surgeries or anything like that. And then thyroid dysfunction. Hypothyroidism slows down digestion, which contributes to constipation and overgrowth in the gut. And then lastly, this is probably one of the most common that I see. And a lot of times, people overlook or often don't connect the dots, and that is chronic stress. So if you're stuck in fight or flight, digestion gets downregulated. You stop making acid, stop making enzymes, and stop making bile. All of these are key for clearing bacteria. So this is why just taking a probiotic is not going to fix it. We have to get why the overgrowth happened in the first place. Now, what can you do if you suspect that SIBO is a problem? Now, you're probably not alone thinking this might be me. The first step is to test and don't guess. The best tool is to do a SIBO test, which measures gas levels after drinking lactulose, which is a solution that you drink, and then you measure the breath. It tells us which type of SIBO that you have. So it's going to measure hydrogen, methane, or both. And then some cases may need additional testing like the GI map to assess the bigger picture. I usually always suggest to pair it because sometimes doing the SIBO test, you identify, okay, you might identify, okay, I have hydrogen-based SIBO. But sometimes doing the GI map will actually give us more information to see what is driving that. So, which specific bacteria is overgrown? Like, is that bacteria histamine producing? Is there an issue with stomach acid? Are there other pathogens present? Are parasites, present? Like a lot of different possibilities that could be driving it or contributing as well. So, first step, test, don't guess. Second step is you want to open drainage and support motility. So you cannot kill what you cannot clear. So supporting bile flow, your lymphatic system, and nervous system is going to be key. So prokinetics, natural or prescription, can help restore the migrating motor complex. And then step 3 is going to be to actually target the overgrowth. So you can do natural antimicrobials, which is what I tend to almost always lean towards being a functional practitioner. So natural antimicrobials like berberine, oregano, garlic, neem, or allicin can be very powerful, but they must be used strategically. And some cases can benefit from prescription treatment like rifaximin or rifaximin plus neomycin for methane-based SIBO. And then step 4 is going to be to rebuild and restore the gut. So once the overgrowth is handled, you can't just be like, well, okay, I feel better, I'm good. You know, you have to rebuild the microbiome, you have to rebuild the gut lining, you have to rebuild enzymes and resilience within the gut. So this includes lifestyle, nutrition, stress management, and nervous system healing. It's not just okay, let's kill it and then we can move on. You have to kind of rebuild after. And then step 5 is going to be to prevent relapse. SIBO has a very high relapse rate. So long-term success comes from addressing motility, triggers, and your unique gut terrain. So it's not just all about just killing the bugs. You have to be a little bit more detailed in your approach. So if you've been bloated for years and nothing has worked, if food feels scary, or if you feel puffy, tired, and stuck, this might be your missing piece. So SIBO is not something that you can guess your way through. It takes a plan, it takes support, and it takes the right testing. So if you're ready to finally get answers and stop chasing symptoms, drop the word ready below or DM me, and I'd love to walk with you through a real healing journey, one where you can get your energy, digestion, and your peace of mind back. So as I always say, you're not crazy, you're not broken, you're just dealing with something that no one told you to look for. So let's change that.